Hello, everybody. Let me check my microphone. Oh, sounds good. Sounds good. So, without further ado, we have a video we want to start with you before we bring our illustrious guest, Miss Kerry from Kerry's Country Life. We're going to talk about canning and fermentation. I want y'all to sit back and relax, but to get you in the mood, we're going to play this meditation video. So, I hope you guys are ready. See what I did. Guys, remember, I wrote this song. Okay, that is it. Thank you, everybody, for being so patient and listening. I would like to know your opinion. As I said, every week that we have a new video, a new song that are coming from our station, we want you to vote on and let you know. This is a meditation song that we're going to be using for meditation. So if you come for a session at Dreams to Reality Ranch or with one of our providers, this is a CD that you either can purchase or actually use for your own meditation. So without further ado, I should have introduced myself. I'm Dr. D from Dreams to Reality Ranch. Um, and my guest today is Kerry Ellis from Kerry's Country Life. I found her on TikTok and I loved her content because she was talking about canning. And last week I was telling y'all how I can my food and do fermentation. And I used to be in Florida known as the kombucha queen. And there's more to fermentation than kombucha. But I wanted to talk to somebody else that is actually, as I say, doing the darn thing and actually living a life, not just, another place, just another face, but someone that actually knows and sharing their story on TikTok. So without further ado, welcome to our stage, Miss
Thank
Kerry.
you. Thank you so much. Yeah, my name is Kerry, and I am a herbalist. I'm also a Reiki practitioner and spiritual life coach. I fell into canning and food preservation and fermentation as part of trying to find a more holistic life. And it's really something that I feel passionate about because I feel that we're currently in this space where we have a market of people trying to sell you probiotics and things and pills, whereas we can make them so much cheaper, so much easier, and so much more available to our guts. So
I like that. I never thought about that. Okay. So you just fell into it. So like what made you stop and say, "Look, I'm going to start canning." Like something had to be like, "This is it. I'm going to just do this."
I have fibromyalgia, so I do have a chronic illness, and I started looking at labels and trying to be more aware of what was in my food and what they use to preserve food. And even when you buy cans at the store, you can't control the sodium levels, you can't control things that are in it. Sometimes there are things you don't know how to pronounce, you don't know what it is. So, canning was a way for me to be able to know exactly what's in my food and be able to control that.
So that makes sense. So, okay, so what was the first thing that you started canning?
I started water bath canning. I suggest everyone start with water bath canning. And I think it was just like jams, jellies, and like fruits, like segmented oranges and mandarins and things like that. You find
Wow.
you find things like that at the store. You put it either in water or a light syrup, and you can it, and then you can have it, long term.
I like that. I never, you know what? I've only seen like for me, it was just the jam and the vegetables. So this is something I never thought about preserving because you do see them in the store. Like I like durian fruit. Not everybody's a big fan of durian fruit.
Right.
So I'm gonna just put it out there. When I could get durian season is September and October, and because I lived in Thailand, so I know the
Right.
thing. So when they're shipping them here, they of course are not ripe, or sometimes they're overripe and they're not right. So I miss Thailand for that fresh durian and the things I did with my durian and the sour sop. So
Oh,
that is
yeah.
something I see a lot. A lot of people juicing the sour sop. A lot of people preserving the leaves, but that even gives you a point of maybe cutting it and maybe putting it in a can instead of doing it with that too. Because I know when you go into the freezer section, it is so much they add sugar, which is sugar already into it. For me, I cannot do white sugar. It hurts my teeth, but it hurts my body more than anything. And I don't know why that is. I was born like that. But even and I love dessert, but guess what? I would just suffer through the pain. I'm older now, so I ain't suffering through no pain.
Definitely. As I've gotten older, I've definitely things that I thought were I just pushed through it, I don't anymore. And sugar is definitely one of those things. I usually use coconut sugar or honey granules if I need a solid sweetener, or just honey, or of course maple syrup, something like that, a more unrefined sweetener.
Right. Have you tried maple syrup water?
I have not.
I've been trying to get that since I got here to the mainland. I'm from
Is it
Guam.
right? It's
So,
something that
so
you can find over there.
no,
Oh,
it was advertised here. It was on a ABC station. And I was
hmm.
like, I want to try that. Because it was clear, but the maple syrup, when you see it, it has a when they top the tree, it's different. So I was like, I don't know how it's made, but I just want to top it because I like coconut water.
Yeah.
So but I like Thai coconuts, and I like how I use the jelly with it. I used to be raw vegan, not that anymore. Used to make pad thai with it, with the noodles, and just like you would do the noodles and the pad thai, I just
Right.
replaced it with coconut noodles. People looked at me like, what you doing? I'm raw vegan, so I gotta make up where I can't get this stuff. So those jelly noodles you scoop out, you can actually make noodles with them.
Yeah.
And it came out good. I mean, it was raw. It was like the best thing I could think of for raw at the time.
I've done some time as raw vegan as well. Not very long. I did more of like a cleanse, and then I was 5 years vegan. So I I understand the creativity that goes into it sometimes, and how you can recreate just about anything.
Right. So I appreciate that. So tell me, how did you find out about fermentation?
I guess growing up, I was a fan of pickles and things like that. My father was a fan of sauerkraut. I never thought about how they were made until my father started a small patch in our backyard of cucumbers, and I started making more cucumber based pickles with vinegar, not so much fermented pickles.
Okay.
And over time I found a pickle that I really liked in store and found out that it was fermented. And of course, when you buy fermented food in the store, because it is living, it's so expensive.
Yep.
And I'm one of those people where if I can figure out how to make something, I'm going to do it. Like,
I
uh,
like that.
yeah, like if there's something that I can't figure out or that I find it too expensive, I'm going to do it myself. So, this was probably about 7 or 8 years ago. I decided to uh, play around with making pickles, started making sauerkraut, and now I consistently ferment things every week to week, probably 3 or 4 different things a week, just because my family likes it. It's good for our gut health, and I feel like that's another fight that I go through, is trying to tell people the importance of having a healthy microbiome.
Hmm. So have you did kimchi?
Yes. Yes. I try to stay away from the spicy things. That doesn't agree with my gut, so I do more of a mild, like yellow kimchi.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Everybody's preference, and it works. At least it works for your gut. So have you made maybe yogurt?
In the past, I have made yogurts and cheeses. Right now, I'm getting kefir starter, like so that I can make kefir, because I prefer that in the morning to yogurt sometimes. Something I
Okay.
can drink with the same probiotic benefit. As well as I try and get my prebiotics through stewed fruit and things like that.
Nice. Okay. So you're really doing a darn thing. I like that. Uh, I make my own butter.
Yeah.
That's what I've been doing, but it's out of cashews. It's not dairy centered. I'm trying to think of the correct word to use. Just like my mayo is made out of grapeseed oil versus everybody's doing the avocado. So those are the things that I like to use, and I love pickled beets. I grew up eating a lot of pickled beets. So I know a lot of people don't like beets, but beets were just my favorite growing up. And they were like, really? So I do the pickled beets. And then when I lived in Thailand, we buy our vegetables. We used to buy our vegetables or food every day to cook instead of, because the stalls for the vegetables are right down on the road
Right.
versus here. So I got out of the habit of having a refrigerator. Like the refrigerator was only things that were cold. But then when I talked to my traditional Chinese doctor, she was like, "You're really not supposed to be drinking cold at all as a female. It really is not helpful for your reproductive system." And I'm like, "Girl, I'm past childbirth, blah, blah, blah." She was like, "You still have your cycle?" I was like, "Yeah." She said, "Then you're not past childbirth." I was like, tell that to your mama, because I ain't trying to hear that right now. But okay. So I took that into encouragement, like, okay, what I do in the morning is drink a warm tea or a room temperature that I'll have covered at night. Yesterday we made a sun, I'll call it a sun tea with hibiscus, clove, cinnamon, and fresh ginger. And we crushed the ginger. My son's like, "Oh, it's enough that you do." No, you got to crush it. You got to get it in there. I want some ginger in here. He's like, "You got cloves, you got anise," and he's naming all the stuff. I was like, "Yes, this is my Hawaiian punch." Back in the day, they had Hawaiian punch. It came in a can. It was so gross, but I remember the flavor. And what I think is the anise, that and the anise and the clove, all of that to me reminds me of that particular. So if I want, I'll just juice some pineapple and put it in the concoction that I have. I made a 5 gallon. I'm not going to be out here making a gallon and thinking it's okay. So I made 5 gallons, and it was sitting out in the sun. And my neighbor came and like, "What's going over here?" Because I have two different ones, 5 gallon container. One was butterfly pea, and the
Ooh.
other one was thing. So I like to make more sun teas. It's kind of interesting because I'm not heating it up on there, but the sun is doing all the work and extracting I feel everything that it needs into what I want to drink. So all I gotta do is just go and just pour me some, and it's already there. I don't have to worry about the sugar. If I want to add, I use coconut sugar, I use agave, and sometimes I use, basically, I know it's weird, pomegranate molasses.
Mm.
That is for me. That's coming from my vegan um, background and being vegan for so long. I had to be creative with my spices. So I used to make vegan pomegranate tofu. And that to me, flavor just always, but I love molasses as a kid. So going back to what I'm familiar with, so that plays a part. And I want to ask you, what would you suggest people's canning tools should be if they want to start out? What is the things that you think they should have started out to be canning?
I think before you even start buying things, you need to look in your cabinet, see what you have. Water bath canning just requires a large stock pot. So if you have a large stock pot, there's no need to go buy one that's labeled a canner. If you have jars in your home, you may just need to buy lids that, are actually more secure. Things like that. I don't think that there are a lot of must-have tools at first, other than I do suggest getting some of the tongs, some of
Oh
the
yeah, it
canning
burns.
tongs. Those come in handy. I do not suggest trying to use your regular house tongs. I have tried that in the past and that did not work out well for me. I also think that, like, if you have um, white vinegar, it's always good to put a little white vinegar in there and to keep the minerals from coming together. I know that I have things that are so multi-purpose in my life. I try not to have anything specifically for one purpose, um,
Nice.
because we live in a world of overconsumption, and the less I can have, the better. So, yeah, I think as long as you have some sort of large stock pot, you have cans that have lids that seal, you have good tongs, and you have some way to, like, temp your water to know, like, so either a digital thermometer or even like a in a time of trouble, I've used a regular thermometer. Whatever you can do to temp your
Okay.
water. Whatever you got to do.
Adaptability. I like that.
Yeah.
Okay. So, what would you suggest for fermentation for people? What would be, because it's different between canning and fermentation. What would you suggest they start off with or get educated in with?
I feel like with water bath canning, there's not a lot of error, whereas with fermentation, the trial and error is a little bit higher. You have to make sure that you've cleaned your fruit and vegetable really well. You don't want any of that bacteria to go into your water. So being sanitary is the number one thing, but I also think that having some sort of weight. Now, I went out and bought glass weights after I realized how much I was doing it. But I know people who put rock in a plastic bag and use that as a weight. You can use whatever will, you can have a small plate in a larger bowl, and that can be your weight. Whatever will hold your produce or fruit under the water to keep it anaerobic, that's all that you need.
Okay. That's prevent botulism. And
Right.
that's very thing. I did see a video where someone, they were down south somewhere, and they had shared the food that they canned, and somebody came in and reported them, and they threw it all in the trash. And they were just trying to help somebody else because they overcanned. So
Yeah.
I was like, "Are you really serious? They do this on the mainland like this?" And the U.S. just, it's interesting to see the things that they do that it is just more wasteful instead of helping. So, what is your favorite thing to ferment?
My favorite thing to ferment. Well, I'll say my family's favorite thing, my husband's favorite thing for me to ferment is onions. I ferment red onions every week. It makes a good topping on burgers or on sandwiches. If you like like pickled red onions, I highly suggest it. Um, we eat a lot of sauerkraut, of course. We do a lot of carrots as well, lacto fermented carrots. Cut them up into matchsticks and put them in there. Those are my son loves those. My son is 3 and he loves those. Um,
Carrot monster.
yeah, and Brussels sprouts. I think people who don't like Brussels sprouts should give it a try and treat it kind of like a sauerkraut, where you chop it up and all combine it.
Nice. See, that's something different. I never thought about fermenting Brussels sprouts. That is one for the books. Like we did carrots because we love carrots. We did cucumbers, and we make salsa. So basically,
Mm.
same thing. So uh, background. So
Oh, you got quiet. I don't know where you went.
oh,
Oh, there you
I'm up
are.
here talking.
I was like, oh no, where'd she go?
Oh, my mic. This mic is so sensitive. All you got to do is touch it and it goes off. So I'm going
Oh,
to keep my hand over here. I wanted to know what you're the first person I heard. You make your own kefir.
yes.
Is this there's water kefir, like I used to do that kind of kefir with the little pebbles, like not pebbles, but
Yeah,
the water kefir, but
with the
there's another.
cultures.
Right. Then they have other kefir, like milk kefirs, but I'm wondering if they have kefir that people that are vegan that they could use to do like the kefir milk, like instead of it being goat's milk or animal milk, could they use it and maybe use it for coconut milk?
They do they do have a coconut milk version. And there was a point where my husband was seeing a naturopath who was actually recommending it for him for his gut health, and he loved it and feels like it was very beneficial to his gut. So I suggest coconut kefir to people who are looking for a non-dairy option.
Okay, see. And see, I'm one of those like be curious to make it on my own to see like what can I do to make it on my own? Where can I get the kefir from to do that? Because I know about the water kefir and doing that because I used to do that when I like I said do the kombucha. But my son really loves doing the SCOBY kombucha because
Hmm.
it got bigger and bigger. So have you did kombucha?
I used to do kombucha in the past, and then I took a break. I started doing ginger bug instead, making my
Right.
own ginger bug sodas. But now that I don't drink a lot of soda or kombucha or anything, I've kind of put the beverages to the side, and I focus
Okay.
more on the food.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. See, I'm getting people to really get into stuff because I used to take the kombucha SCOBY and use it and actually dehydrate it and use it in other things. And people's like, I've never thought. I said, girl, I come from my granny's generation. They didn't waste nothing. So everything has a purpose. Even when it's done, it's really not done. You take it and you put it in a smoothie, and it still has probiotics. It still has medicinal purposes and helping the body or helping the gut. Uh, we made, I think it was so much. We made deodorant with kombucha, hair wash. I mean, everything you could think of. I guess that's why they called me kombucha queen in Florida because
Yeah.
I was like, I was like, do y'all know what y'all can be doing with this? We could be rocking with this kombucha. And then I got like, everybody's not into kombucha like you are, girlfriend. Just step back and mind your business. I was the kombucha queen. Let you taste this. Come here. But
Yeah.
I think that really paid off because at the time I had real bad rheumatoid arthritis and I was actually in a wheelchair. And I was not walking right. And when I had been vegan prior to these ailments going on, but then I was diagnosed with lupus. And
Mm.
they said the lupus was like paralyzing arthritis with lupus. So I decided, okay, well, that's when I went raw vegan. Like, I got to step it up a notch. And then I realized it's not really that, it's the food actually in on the mainland. When I was in Thailand and lived there, I did not, I walked, I could move, I could eat food. It's so different. I know I keep saying that, but I felt different. From coming here, we allowed more chemicals, like you're saying, in our food that we can't even give our food out in the in other countries. Do you know that in France they won't take our food? Germany, what was the other? Normandy, what was the other? Poland. I'm saying Poland, they won't take our food. Come on now. Ireland won't take our food. There's different countries that have outlawed our food because they see them as a weapon of destruction and they said it was not, what was the term? Not made for human consumption. But yet we eat this all the time here. That let me know like, wow, we we really don't know what we're getting and the food has changed. So how have you seen your family's health change after doing the canning and the fermentation? Has there been a difference or they were healthy to begin with?
My husband has respiratory issues. I feel like doing fermented food has helped. He used to have a lot worse, like bowel issues, feeling bloated, feeling uh, really distended in the stomach, things like that. And he eats a very limited diet. So adding things is kind of what I had to focus on. My child, I had to focus on what tastes good. One thing,
Right.
what will he eat? So one thing that I've recently started implementing is milling our own flour so that we are getting the most nutrients out of our flour as we can, like buying fresh wheat berries instead. Um, so I feel like I've seen the small changes, and as my child grows up, I hope to see large changes. But I also see him being very connected to his food, which is something I don't see with a lot of children now. He helps me in the kitchen. He helps me, ferment. He helps me go get fresh produce. He understands the chain. He helps me mill the wheat berries into flour, and, understands the process. So I think being more connected to our food is what we need to focus on. Like you said, we don't know where it comes from. It gets flown from halfway across the world. So if you can find people locally who are selling things that you're looking for, buy that and can it, you have it all year round. If you
Okay.
ferment it, it's still short-term storage, but even fermenting, pickles and sauerkraut will last a couple months in your fridge. It's still things that is going to give it longer shelf life.
Okay, you mentioned milling, which I really like. So I'm going to ask you a question. Which is the best food mill or flour mill you would use? Is yours just for dry only, or is it for dry and wet food
I
mill?
I started with just a food grinder, like one of those more industrial looking food grinders. And this one I believe is just for dry. I do eventually want to invest in probably a Nutrimil, which is quite the. It's one of the best.
Expense.
Yeah, it's one of the. It's a serious expense. So, but I started with. I'm currently using. It's like a Vevor, Vevor. It's the 1.8 liter grain grinding mill with the swivel. It works great. It cost me $70, I've used it for other things as well because it's been great for grinding spices and things like that. So it's
Nice.
more multi-purpose than just the actual mill itself.
I like that because making flour like bread, we take for granted that they add again something so simple where back in the day you could pronounce everything that was on your bread, where today you need a science degree to pronounce and understand and look up and read before you eat your bread or your rolls or even your hamburger, hot dog rolls, everything, bread, pretzels. Pretzels were not made in back in the day like they're made today. It's not as simple. My
My
mic
mic
went
went
out.
out.
Hello?
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, sorry. I think my husband connected to the to the speaker. I was like, "Where'd you go?" I think you were playing upstairs on the speaker.
Okay. Oh wow. I'm sorry. I'm
Oh no, that
sorry.
was me. I did that.
Okay. He's right. She's too loud. I'm sorry. Okay. So getting back to that, I like that because that's what I seen because you're the reason I was going to actually order the Viva just to start off. But the one that I want is 200 and something dollars. But you take it, it's a stone mill where you do it, you can do the wet as well as the dry.
Right.
And it's going to take a while to get because this is what I know to make cornmeal and or masa as
Mhm.
we call it from the corn and all that other stuff. So I know some people say you didn't. I like, and the thing is, I am a big fan of Azure Standard, and
Same.
I wanted to actually be what they call a coordinator, where people actually come and get these big bulks of things. I've never done it. It reminds me is back in the day I was in a food co-op, and
You
that's
should
what we
do it. I
used to.
do it. Yeah, it's fun.
Okay, so are you a coordinator?
I'm not a coordinator, but I do go to the drops and stuff.
Okay, so that's what I wanted them to actually drop it off where I stay, and
Hmm.
people come and pick it up because the Azure drops are like 32 miles one way, the other mile is 25 miles. So, but when you really get into it and you're really driving, that's an hour. People don't realize that's an hour and something, and I'm driving just to go. And then I just put it out on Facebook. Anybody that's interested in my area and Azure Standard and explaining what it was and letting them go to the shop, because all you need is $500 in orders to actually be a coordinator. So even if you get 3 or 4 people and they ordered 100, and with that you're talking about the wheat berry, and then I seen that they have bulks of 25 pounds of salt, 20, 15 pounds of teff and spelt and tiger nut. I was like, what? They have tiger nut? Do you know how rare that is? Do you know how much you have to pay for the tiger nut in the little tiny bags?
Yeah.
And the teff and the spelt, which are better flours, and to mill it myself. Now they have the flour, but I don't want that. I want to mill it myself. So do you buy in big bulks like that, or do you buy in little, like 5 pound, not that is little, but you know what I mean, smaller quantities?
It depends on which grain it is. I do buy hard white wheat, hard red wheat, and soft white wheat in bulk, usually in 25-pound containers. And then if I want like spelt or tough or kamut, I would get that in a smaller thing because I use it a lot less. But
Okay.
I do suggest buying it in bulk because the price really does uh even out as far as you're spending more upfront, but it's so much less over time. And because it is the full grain, they last 25 years. You're not, if you are storing it correctly, these grains have such a long shelf life, whereas your flour, within, I think they say within like the first 2 hours, a good 45% of the nutrients is left the flour. So
That makes sense. And the thing is, I was looking at people. Some people were using 5 gallon, uh, uh, what is it, 5 gallon buckets, but they were putting a 25, it fit 25 pounds or whatever she had in there. And then she got these silver, she got them, got it out of her, and then put it in silver Ziploc things and then put them in a 5 gallon thing. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's a lot of work. But then I thought about it. It's really not a work when you have it on hand in case something. If anybody is familiar with the Mormons and their lifestyle and how they do food storage, which I am. I used to be a Mormon, and that's what we did. We have a storehouse where we take our can and our beans and we would put them in a can and actually get it sealed and put it back because everything was all for prep. They were big time in prep. Like, so you never run out of beans and stuff. Now everybody's like, it seems like everybody's doing what the Mormons been doing for a while for prep, and it's like, okay, now they're charging money like arm and a leg. It wasn't like that back in the day. You just go to the storehouse and you get your stuff, you seal it, and you just put it back in your house. They tell you you need to have this for emergencies. We're not. That's another thing that I've noticed, that we're not prepared for emergencies. We're all rushing out when the weather is bad. Oh, okay, it's gonna snow. I gotta go out and get all the bread off the shelf. I gotta get all the milk. Okay, what happened to dry milk? What happened to dry things that you have, staples of rice and being prepared? I don't know. Do you do that type of things? Are you into preparing and make sure that you have rice and all that other good stuff, just not during emergencies?
I do. Also, I feel like for people who have chronic illnesses, they should think about it more, even if it's not long term, as short term. Sometimes you can't make it out to the store. Sometimes you don't feel good. And that's another time where canning comes in, because sometimes I don't feel up to cooking myself a meal, but I know I need like to hit my nutrient max, hit my macros, make sure that I'm eating well still. And instead of running out and getting something, I can run and grab a couple cans and have a nutritious meal. And it's the same with bulk storage. It's having the things right here, not having to run to the store all the time, not having to spend those little moments, having everything available to you. I do rice and beans and but I do all of my own broths and my own I
Nice.
this year I made it a point to try and eat less Chipotle, because that is one thing that I do eat
I
sometimes
love
is,
that.
yeah.
That's my
So
favorite.
I've started canning the meals that I would usually get at Chipotle. So making black beans in cans that, because you can find recipes online that mimic just about anything, and
Yes.
making the fajita chicken or carnitas or whatever my meat is, and canning those, and then just having to make my rice and being able to pull a meal together really quick. I
I
think that
like that. See, and I was just talking to my son about meal prep. And we went out and made some like bread, and I told him I need you to make some omelets because some days I don't feel well. Like my arms are literally swollen. And they're like, and ever since, like I said, I've gotten here, my body has taken a slam dunk, and even to my clothes. But that's another story. So I had him make all these eggs, and he's like, I don't want to make the eggs. I can make eggs every day. I suppose you don't want to get up. And I'm sitting there, and you're like, I don't feel like cooking. Guess what? I'm gonna starve. And he's like, no, you're not gonna starve. I'll fix you something. I said, eventually. But your time and my time is different. So I decided, let me get these in there. And I made my own homemade sausage out of fenugreek, fennel, sage, and thyme. And what was the other thing I put in sage, thyme? And I said red peppers and garlic and onion. And then I just said the meat today doesn't have enough fat. So I had to add fat, and then it became mushy and it reminded me of a hot dog. And I was like, are you serious? Okay, hold on for this. Okay, what does she say? Oh, okay. That's good. I'm going to try that. Thank you. All right. Thank you. Thank you, homies. Cool. I appreciate that. So I like, that's what I did. And then learning to pull in like a stuff from Azure. I haven't done it yet, but I want to talk to them about what it needs. Being a farm, and if they have a problem with that as well. Like, because I have trees. When you're on a farm, you have trees. And my
Right.
goal is like, they were like, I was looking at that truck pulling. I was like, that's an 18-wheeler. But then where I live, there's cattle. So
Mm.
with the cattle, they be having those big trucks come on my road. Mine is not a city road. It's a dirt road. So I don't know if they have special envoyers for the roads. And I know my neighbors have a goat farm. Um, my other neighbors are cattle ranchers. Like the two of them are cattle ranchers. So and then my other neighbor has chickens, and they're personal chickens. So we have all these things I'm learning, and I also buy from my local farmer. That's why I tell everybody, buy from the local farmer if you can. So Azure to me would be the things that I can't get, that I don't want to go to Publix or Winn-Dixie or Safeway or ShopRite or Pathmark, whatever those stores are. Um, I don't want to do that. So I would buy from there. And that's what I was like, okay, I got to get me uh, a grinder. And my son was like, oh gosh, here we go. Cause I got a dehydrator. I got my KitchenAid. I it's like, and then I have so much kitchen equipment. When I thought about it, all the stuff when I moved from Guam, it was like 9 barrels, or like 950 gallons of totes with my kitchen stuff.
Wow.
That's how much, because I had mason jars of the
Yeah.
yin yang. But before I left, I had given away a total of $1,414 worth of food, because my garbanzo beans, my beans, my things. When you're traveling, coming from Guam to here, you cannot take those with you. So I had so much food, that I use, that I couldn't bring. And they were in mason jars. So I couldn't very well dump everything out. So guess what? Those were my stockpiles. And I have a system. So you're speaking my language. So when I seen the canning, I was like, oh, I love this. Because we make our own fish sauce. People not know what that is. We make oh gosh. I know it when I make it. Danensi. It's a chamorro sauce.
Mm.
So it has soy sauce, it has lemon juice, it has peppers, it has garlic, it has onions. I mean, it is amazing. The Nancy, and make that. So then my son's favorite sauce, being from Thailand, is the Thailand fish sauce. And then I'm like, okay. And then I got my Filipino coconut vinegar with the peppers and the gangala and all of that. So we do that. And he's like, well, Mom, you need to do all that. I was like, I don't know how to make no coconut vinegar and the coconut. Like you act like he's like, well, you used to do that back in everything you like you used to make. Dude, I'm not 20 no more. I'm not even 30 no more. Dude, come on, stop playing. So that's what he's used to because I used to make bread. So he had fresh bread every day. And now that he's older, he didn't realize, well, he's like, I thought everybody made bread. No, everybody don't make their bread. Everybody don't sit down and, I thought that when you have a lunch that you take the turkey, you cook the turkey, you chop it up and you slice it, and then they go to these deli counters and they got the preservatives, the additives, and you're wondering why you're breaking out. I like to pull up Chipotle too. That's one of my weakness.
Yeah.
But I like the salted uh, red peppers and onions for they call it fajitas
Hmm.
instead of with that. And I get my guacamole, and then I get the lettuce and the tomato. And my other weakness is the corn salsa. I don't know how to make that and the dressing. I haven't figured out how to make that chipotle dressing. I was like, I get that, then I'm gone. I'm on it. Then that's it. And I won't
Yeah.
do their sofritos because it's made out of soy, and the soy, which people don't know about, our soy is has GMOs, and then it's sent out to China, and then it's expat, come back here. It's a full around. Yes, we can make our own, but I'm learning to make mung bean tofu, which is, and I have a tofu press. So I follow this young lady named Mary. Mary's Tested Kitchen. She's always doing something.
Yeah, I've
So
watched her.
so I love it because she was like, okay. And then I got Miyoko. So Miyoko,
Yeah.
I've watched since I've been a little kid. So Miyoko Schreiner, that's her name. So I watched her as a kid, and her recipes, I would only buy her butter. I would only buy her cheese because I knew where it comes from. And then they had that whatever, whatever. And
Oh,
when
were
she
they?
stepped down, I'm like,
Yeah.
nope, I'm not going to do it. So I was like, you know what? Buy her book, make your stuff yourself. And that's when my son's like, oh, okay, now we're making what? So then, like, even for the chia seeds, we made our own rice milk. He was like, oh, it's going to be so much work. But then when he seen it, he was like, oh, I like this. And then I put the strawberries in it. Oh, wow. Okay. All right. So he was out there at a food thing telling the people, oh, we made our own, mochi, and we made the own, the strawberry milk out of rice, and was explaining to him and he was like so excited, and the guy was like, really? He's like, yeah. He's like, and I made the coolie. So that gave me pride that he's grew up like this. But when I was saying, look, we got to do this, he was like, oh my gosh. I was like, look, I love mine's is Moochie Donuts, but I
Mm.
don't like, because I don't, my thing is the gluten. And then it's not really the gluten, it's how they process stuff. Because when I went to Italy and other countries, I have no problems with their pasta. I have no problem with their breads. I can eat this. So my best bet is make your own. Make your own pasta. And oh, I loved it. And the fact that I went to culinary school helped. Uh, I learned back in the day there was no such thing as chocolate pasta. So for my assignment, we had to make pasta, and I said, "What do I love more than anything?" I made chocolate blueberry sauce pasta, and they wanted to know how in the world I could come up with something like that. And I was like, I like chocolate and I love blueberries. So I had to think of something, and it was outside the box. So I come to thinking I've always been outside of the box kind of a young lady at the culinary, like, what? She's doing that. So that paid off. And I your health improvement, getting back to you really, your health improvement, you've seen a lot of difference from you canning and fermenting. And actually, you were actually doing I seen something where you had chamomile oh my god.
Like a tea, like a
Yeah,
cold
and
infusion
it was,
tea.
no, I didn't know what it was, and I was like, it's chamomile. I gotta ask her, what is it? Because I seen the
Oh,
chamomile flowers.
okay. It was probably it's a drink that I made. It was a chamomile. I called it like a chamomile, like creamsicle tea, and it was
Right.
yeah, it was chamomile, orange peel, vanilla bean, and lemon balm. And
Nice.
it was like a nice, soothing, calm. Like you were saying, how you prefer like a sun tea. I prefer either cold infusion or sun tea. I prefer to not heat my herbs, especially the gentle herbs like chamomile. If I can steep them overnight, I'm going to do that instead. So, a nice soothing for the nervous
Oh,
system.
I like that. I was like, because you called it like something. I was like, so I'm glad you said the creamsicle. I was like, yeah, that's different. That's not something. You for me, um, people wouldn't think to put together and the medicinal purposes that they have for it, which is really good. So I think I definitely would love for you to come back and
Yeah.
talk about your herbology. I had my friend Naya, she's a herbologist here and she's studying to be a master herbalist. So
Wow.
she came out and this Friday, you guys, y'all need to stay tuned. I have somebody that's going to talk about foraging.
Oh.
And that is something that I really want to do because I have a Spanish moss tree and my friend said there's medicinal purpose, but I don't know what the medicinal purpose for Spanish moss. That's not something, but I have it. I mean, I have a lot of Spanish moss trees,
Yeah.
and they were like, "Yeah, you can take them and use them," and I'm like, okay, well, I wouldn't get it off the ground because I have dogs and all that other stuff. So I need to learn. Like, can you grab it off the tree and how to forage? I've never foraged, but I've always been interested, like getting mushrooms. And then I learned from Dr. Iris, we're not really supposed to be eating mushrooms. And that just broke my heart because I love reishi mushrooms. I
Yeah.
love chaga mushrooms and I love lion's mane mushroom. So I was like, and then I love portobellos because it was like, okay, you done shot my system to like, I don't know what to do now. I got to think of some more creative things.
I know, time to get creative.
So, um, do you grow any of your vegetables or herbs or anything?
I have a small container garden that I
Okay.
started with my son where I have like um chamomile and rosemary. I have a small fig tree and raspberry
Nice.
bush. I have some dill and some little things like that. But I, for most of my herbs, Azure Standards is a great place to get dried herbs, as well as locally through connecting with other people who do farm and have stuff going on. I've been able to get local stuff as well.
Okay, so do you participate in the seed swap or the uh do you go to your local farmers market as well?
I do. I go to different little fresh markets in the area as well as farmers markets, and some direct farms.
Okay, that's nice. And how did you find out about your local farms in your area? How did
I
you
I believe online. I started to look up just like whatever I was looking for in the area, like grass-fed beef or like whatever vegetables I was looking for, whatever. I was trying to see if I had anybody who had wheat berries locally. And unfortunately, I got to go an hour to get wheat berries, but I do have a place an hour away that sells them in 25-pound gallons in the Mylar bags already sealed. So I think that yeah, finding stuff locally online is a great resource. We found each other through TikTok, and I've been able to find a lot of local things through TikTok as well. Oh no, where'd you
I'm here.
go? There you are.
I was looking down. I look down. Yeah, I'm here. It goes out. I'm gonna have to probably get a better mic. Everything as stuff improve, as the channel improve, we'll get more things. So just you guys be patient with me. Don't mean to disappear. But if you hear me, just let me know. So like she did, uh we could do. So with that being said, that you found your local, you're doing fermenting, and you're sharing your experience with us, which we appreciate. Well, I appreciate. I don't know if people appreciate it. You're sharing your experience and your life in the country. So, and going, you said you travel an hour. So I'm assuming you're in a country like me that you got to drive. It's not the city that you can go down the street and it's not a local bodega or something like that.
I live in Georgia, but I live kind of west north Georgia.
Okay.
So I do own a business that's an hour away. My husband drives an hour to go to work. So we live pretty far. Like sometimes it's closer for me to go to Alabama than it is to go to my mother-in-law's house in
Whoa.
Georgia. So if that tells you kind of like
Yeah.
morally, and I'm very fortunate that I do live in an area that has all of these great little markets. We've got a great big grocery store and things like that. I have a big box stores not far down the road, but I'm trying to get people in our area to get away from the big box stores, to shop
Right.
mom and pop, to support local business, to start a barter system, to really be part of the community, because it's so much easier to work as a collective than it is as individuals when we're fighting against something so big.
It makes sense. That makes sense. I agree with you. I love to barter with people that want to do things. So the goal is eventually, I because I do a lot of different things for healing, from ionic foot baths to I'm looking like where can I get an ionic foot bath at? Oh, they don't have that here. Oh,
Not
where can
there.
I get a sauna? Oh, they don't have that there. You got to drive all the way to Orlando. You got to drive all the way to Tampa. That's an hour and 50 minutes or an hour and 45 minutes. Okay. Um, a good massage, like really understanding what a good massage is, and not those woo-woo massages. No disrespect, but when you got some issues that you need some kinks worked out, you need kinks worked out. It's not like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna use the oil on it, and it's not doing what it is. I was fortunate enough to find a acupuncture, but again, my acupuncture is like 45 minutes away. It's
Mhm.
not an hour, but it's 45 minutes. So I drive to go see my acupuncturist. I drive to go see my chiropractor. I live in a little tiny town where there's a city, but I'm country. And with my area, you have the city and you have city downtown. That's not us. And then you got the country. That's us. And we can't get a lot of stuff. We do not have a supermarket. We do not. We have to go into Bartow, and that's where their Walmart is. I really don't like Wally World. I really don't like Target, whatever. I really Publix. If I want to go, I gotta go into Bartow. That's 45 minutes to go there, 45 minutes to go back. Or I can go to Lake Wales, and then it's just a little 30 minutes, but it's still 30 minutes. So that's what I said. Okay, well, that's what made me think, instead of me driving all the way up here, why not do Azure Farm? And I know most people got to be tired of driving to go get their stuff. Let me see what I could do for my community. So that's always been my goal, wherever community I go in, to make my community a lot better than it was or what I found it, or to be helpful in my community, that we're helping each other. Um, Sometimes that's a little bit hard, and sometimes it's not so hard. And, so I appreciate that, especially bartering. That's a new thing. And you got to make sure it's equal of bartering energy, because some people bring you something that's worth 2 cents and they expect you to give them something for, you know, a lot. So that's what I learned.
It's one of those
So,
things you got to be clear. I have to say, like, these are the things I have. This is what I'm looking for. I'm looking for, local honey. I'm looking for,
yeah.
other people who make different medicinal tinctures or who have herbs, things like that. But I have to be like, this is what I'm looking for.
Right. Like the lady that runs, we have a called the Red Door in Florida, in Frostproof. So for me to get theirs, that's at least 25 minutes. And I don't mind. So I go, and they have all these different people from they're doing the eggs and the vegetables at the Red Door, which is farm and is outdoor. and then they'll have somebody selling like maybe bread, pretzels, the pretzels that the guy bought, and he just seasoned it with dill and all these other seasonings. And I'm like, okay, I kind of remember this. If people remember the Charlie Chip man that used to come around and deliver the potato chips and the pretzels. That I mean, I'm talking way back. You guys probably don't know nothing about that, but yeah, I'm telling my age. That's how I grew up. Stuff was not in the stores like it is today. It was like the people that service came to you and offered. So when I met them, I was doing my stand and we made gluten-free. It was gluten-free chocolate chip, vegan, sugar-free cookies. And I'm like, everything I have to do, it has to be sugar, it has to be gluten-free, and it has to be vegan for me to make it and to sell it. That's just one of my pet peeves. So we went there and I had these cookies, and I had, what was it, chia seeds pudding. Nobody even heard of chia seeds. I had to break it down and explain it to them. It was like, and then a lady that came from my end, she was like, you know what? If you were where I live, we snatch everything up. And I was like, she said, but we can't take everything with us. She said, I know you don't want to drive like, hours, but you would sell out instantly. And I was like, I guess the more I educate people, they'll get there. And then I made snickerdoodles,
Mm.
um, and they were sugar free and they were a prize. So another lady's like, "Oh, I like them." So she sells honey, all different kinds of honey. So I was looking for beeswax. So she has beeswax. So I make these. I don't know if you know the beeswax wraps that you
Yeah,
actually
for like breads and things.
bread or whatever that you want to cover.
Right.
So I was like, oh, I'm making this. And my son, you're going to make it? Like, yeah. We make our own soap detergent, like a lot of stuff that I've been doing for years. And she's like, nobody's doing that. He's like, no, nobody is doing that, Mom. They don't even know what to do. They just buy stuff. I was like, well, I don't like chemicals. They make me itch. So now my son got his own glitch. I'm going to do what my mom does, and I'm going to make our own soap. So that's something new. He's taken on by himself. I didn't. I was like, okay. I said, well, because I bought the wax, the roll of wax. It cost me $15 to get that roll of beeswax. And my son, something was spoiled, forgot about it, and he left it in there or left it out. So then what he did, he just threw it in the trash. I was like, dude, do you know how much that cost me? And he's
No.
like, what? He was like, I said, where is it? He said, I threw it out. I was like, you washed them. You don't throw them out. He goes, oh, okay. So that's what I decided. You know what? I can make my own. I can make my own. And if I want, it's not out here. If I want to get it, I got to get it from Amazon. I don't want to keep ordering from Amazon. I want to be my place, I want to be self sufficient. So if I have it, I'm making it, I'm doing it. So I was even thinking about teaching a class. It's very simple, very easy to do. If they want to do it instead of not buying it, I could teach them to make the class. Just like the gluten-free cookies. And my friend's like, that's what you did when you was in Thailand. You just, make do. And I was like, you know what? I never thought about it here because it's the US and they have all their rules. Like even certain things, you got to get a cottage license to sell food here. And you can't sell it in the store. You know what I mean? Where back in the day, you could sell it in the store as long as you had your license and your address and your information. It's
Yeah.
the laws they keep changing. So how are you do you offer your herbs, tinctures, or anything to any of the farmers markets? Are you participating in any of them?
I'm looking into the legalities of some of that, but currently I am on the app Farm Fresh 24/7 where local people can purchase my things as
Nice.
well as trying to, like I said, I do have a space an hour away, which I'm thinking about putting a couple products, as well as just trying to use my TikTok to get more education out there. I really am a big believer that it's not even about purchasing things for me, it's about being able to do it. People need to learn how to do it. The less that we outsource, the better. Because these are skills that we're losing and
That
are
one.
going, you know, they're going away, and we need to bring them back so that we can reclaim our own food security.
Right. So is Farm Fresh an application or is it a website?
It's an app. It's a phone app. It's called Farm Fresh 24/7. Like 24/7. And I actually found it when I made a post about bartering. Everyone was telling me that it's a community of people. And I know right now I've looked in Atlanta. I don't know if it's everywhere, if it's nationwide, but it's people who make things and are looking to, yeah, looking forward to bartering and selling low cost and really building a community around that.
Okay. There was I gotta get it. I don't know if you ever heard of this one. Um Shoot, where did you go? I see it. It's on my phone. Um this particular app, it's supposed to be a app that is supposed to be like a what is it? Like what is that thing? Amazon, but better,
Hmm.
supposedly. I went on it. Okay, you didn't even come out the way I told you to. It just went and did its own thing. Said you were typing something you didn't know what you was typing. Yeah. RI. Yep. There you go. Did it come up? Nope. So this is another app that is out, and it has a lot different things, but it's not really local. So I was like, you know what? I'm trying to get a lot more people that are doing things and having them on the show, especially that is do with farmer in our food and helping sustaining. And what you were saying was really right, because I was saying we're going to get to a point that we're going to have to barter, that money is not going to matter. So if you have skills, you need to keep honing up on your skills, whether it's teaching, because not everybody can teach, and that's true. Some people think they can teach, but just sit down and just listen. I That's my advice. But like baking, something simple as baking bread. My friend said, "You make bread and you do good," and I was like, "Yeah, it's simple." She's like, "No." I was like, "Yeah, it is," and she's like, "No," and I was like, "Okay." So I make lentil bread, or I make different kinds of breads out of different things because, like I said, I'm gluten free, and I'm like, and I have to find alternatives. So that's another thing. I made with the cookies, I made it out of plantain flour. And they were like, "Well, how did you do that?" I was like, "I got my plantains, I dehydrated them, I take them down and I grinded them up." And my son's like, "Mom, everybody don't do that." And I was like, "Well, she asked me and I told her. You know, like I make my cookies, chickpeas or spelt or tiger, like all these things we can use a substitute if you cannot eat gluten, if it's really an issue. They say I don't have celiac, but I think it's the flour here and how they process it that I have a problem. So that's why I'm looking to get wheat berries.
Yeah.
And I suggest the closer we get to getting and making our own. um did you grow up where there was a home economics in your class, in your school?
There was, I'm 40, so I've had, so I was right in that group where I had technology in high school, like later high school, but not really before that. So I remember home economics and things like that, but it was still very like we did one basic sewing project, which was like a
Right.
bag and probably bake like cookies or something like that. And I think that like bringing back programs where people know how to make food because when I'm on TikTok and I'm trying to tell people food education, I get a lot of you know, the miseducations that they gotten in the past, and I have to tell them, no, it's easier than you think. It's cheaper than you think. There's not this, gap that you have to fill. You can do it now with what
Right.
with things you can find even at like a thrift store or something. Like, you can do it now, and no better time than now.
Right. Like even I found Lehman is an Amish I'm trying to think, an Amish dealer that has like the refrigerator and the stove without the electric and all the stuff like that. So they have a lot of stuff. So they have a Trindle. I've always wanted a Trindle sewing machine. And they were like, why? I said, because when electric goes out, I can still sew. I grew up where we had lanterns with the kerosene light. We didn't turn on our lights like that, like a lot of people do. It was kerosene lights in the living room or in the dining room, especially when it was light out. Light is when you were taking a bath or taking a shower, and absolute necessary. Going upstairs to the hallway to go to bed, and after that, that's it. It was used. Electricity was used very sparingly. When I think about it, we lived a humble life, but it gave me a lot of skills. Now that we're putting in place, like the canning, we're talking about the big stock pots that they have. And I know you were talking about the speckle colored stoneware and how they've changed. And I said that a long time ago because that's what we used to make our turkeys in,
Yeah.
and it's not the same material. And I was like, it eats away so fast. What's going on? Who is making this? So I've relied on cast iron skillets. And I mean, I got the big, deep Dutch oven cast iron skillets to do even that. And they're like, well, you don't do everything. Well, I'm going to have to, because these pots are not what they used to be. So this is going to have to be my pot. And yes, I'm going to have to wash it out and season it more. Um, what is your thought on cast iron uh, pans and Dutch ovens?
I enjoy cast iron. I cook a good bit on cast iron. One thing I do suggest everyone who does cook solely in cast iron is to watch their iron consumption, because, you do get extra iron through cast iron, which is great, especially if you're on a vegan diet. But if you're someone who's eating meat, or just make sure you're not over ironing yourself. It is a thing. But I think that cast iron is great, especially since it has such a long life. I think a lot of times now people buy things that are the non-stick that lasts a good 6, 8 months, and then they toss it in the trash. With a cast iron, you can always season it, you can always reuse it, you can find one at a thrift store and bring it back to life. Like, it has such a long life, and it's something that you can have and pass down to your children.
Right.
So,
Reason I bring that up is because a lot when I was growing up, they started coming out with these nonstick pans, and I never liked them, and I would never cook in them, and people just thought I was weird. And then years later, it was showing that it has some connection, but all the chefs were pushing them out at that time, and they would make fun of me even in culinary school. Like, nope, I got my own pot. They were like, what? I was like, you're gonna cook my food. You're cooking in this. So I bring stuff to class because that's what I wanted them cook out of. And then when I moved to Mexico, which I like, is they cook in these clay pots. That I'm trying to get a set of those clay pots. So I'm gonna work with my friend Barbie Blanco, Emirida, to see if I can get some and bring them back for me. I seen them a lot when I was in Nevada. They have a lot of them, and you can cook in them, and they last longer. But also, some of them you can use and actually do fermentation in them.
mhm.
That's I really like. And then I'm like learning different materials that we can use, like even the cookie sheets that we use. They were made with that stuff that coating, whatever it is, and I wouldn't do it. And they're like,
Teflon.
right, there you go. So I wouldn't use all that. And they're just like, well, why? I said, something in me is telling me is I just can't. So I would use stainless steel. And they just thought, oh, you're just weird. Or I'm like, whatever. Everything has a reason. Like, I'm just out there.
Well, and now you see that they have all of these studies showing that Teflon is the chemicals that it releases are bad for your health, that they're forever chemicals, they never leave your body. So I think if you intuitively felt that, then you have to follow that because sometimes your body's telling you things to stay away from without you even having
Right. Well,
to
they have a
research.
smell. They For
Yeah,
me it was the smell. And it was like, okay, this is not my this is something else. And they were like, but then again, I was also vegan. So when I walk into a supermarket, I could smell the meat and I would turn around and walk back out. And my girlfriend used to make fun of me. She's like, girls, nothing wrong with this store. And I was like, look, it smells like rancid blood. And coming from the culinary school and having to do fabrication of meat, I have no problem fabricating meat. I have no problem eating meat. It's just that I wanted to do it. It wasn't for the animals. I love you animals, but I was gonna eat some meat. I'm not one of those, oh, it's for the animals. No, if you're gonna be like that, plants are living things as well. So
right.
if you're gonna do that, let's don't go there with me. And that's what I was like. I'm gonna eat my meat, and I argue it down. But when I became vegan, it was vegan for me because I wanted to try it and see the benefits. So it wasn't for any it wasn't even for a medical purpose. It was just that I was not a real big meat eater. I was more of a vegetable type person and always have been. And that's okay. But I learned, for me, I had to put meat in my diet. He said at least just 2 ounces. If you can do that for me, I'm good. My acupuncture said the same thing. I need you just a little bit. And I was like, I got you. I'm gonna do it. So for me, I have no problem being vegan. Uh, my problem was being raw. Vegan raw. And there are different raws that people don't know about, that you can actually be raw and you drink raw milk, raw cheese,
Mhm.
and all of that. And that came from I learned that from the book. Her name is Carol Alt. She used to be a model back in the 70s. And she talked about going raw and the benefits that it did versus being a the American standard diet. Now that I have a problem with, but I would like to see more of us learn to cook and teach our children to cook and enjoy foods. Like, I went to the farm, so I knew where my milk came from. Um, we don't know that the land provides us food. We think it just mysteriously, a lot of the kids pop up on the shelf and it's there in the supermarket. No, before it goes to the supermarket, it comes from a factory, and before the factory it goes. So
Yes.
educating, good. So do you do that type of education with them to for anybody to understand about the education of food, or like what they say, farm to table?
I'm gonna try to start implementing that more into my content. I do, I've got some nutrition training recently, but at the same time, I think what I like about TikTok is I try not to focus on what my certifications are. I try and meet
Okay.
everybody where they are and try and
Nice.
implement it like like a one-on-one peer-to-peer type thing. Like I just
Right.
happen to know these things that I want you to know too. So if you're interested, join along. So in showcasing more local businesses and more local farms, I'd like to show people more of how easy it is to come from the ground, to the table, especially with produce and things like that. How easy it is to start small gardens, little things, and start making small changes. Little
Right.
changes build up into big changes.
You're right. You're absolutely correct. I like that. Little changes bring into big things, because that is true. And only, just like they said, it just takes one person to say something and another person hear it, and then it'll spread along. So that's really, really good. So we talked about that. So um the pots, I try to remember everything in my head, that everything that I want to get out, because then I remember, like, I should ask this. uh, so the fermentation we talked about. Do you use mason jars, or what was this? Or cobalt?
I use mason jars simply because they're easier to get.
Okay.
Um, I have a stash of jars that I use for everything. I also do a lot of my bulk storage when I bring it upstairs in larger jars, and then just use the dry vacuum sealer. So
Mm-hmm.
dry sealing those. So I prefer to have the mason jars because I can use them for 20,000 things. Um, but I usually don't can anything over, like, I'd say like a half gallon.
Okay.
I'm
Okay.
not doing anything too large. I usually stay about the quart size is where I prefer, especially since that's a good amount for my family. Like I said, we're a
Okay.
family of three. If I make a quart of something, beans or something, that's gonna last us. That's a dinner.
Okay, I like that. So do you cook your beans, or do you just do them dry so then you can cook them later?
When I can them, I do have a dry storage as well. But then when I
Okay.
can them, I do the boiled 5-minute boil method so
Uh-huh.
that they soften up a bit before I put them in the can with the seasonings, and then they cook further in the can.
Nice. See,
So
I'm
yeah,
being educated. That
it's like when
that
you go to the store, just open up a can of beans and eat them.
Okay, I like that. See, okay. See, I never thought to do that, because always is taught soak the beans. Like, even my kamut. I got kamut from the store, well, from the African store, and we soaked them, right? Like, I didn't know you were supposed to soak them. So I was just like, oh, I was about to. I said, I'm gonna have me some kamut my first time. I'm all excited, and then I go in the back. It was like, oh, you gotta soak overnight. My son said, oh, aren't you disappointed? I was like, you know that I am, right? I wanted to taste it. So we soaked it, and then we did something else, and we forgot about it. Within 2 days, they started sprouting. So the little tails, I was like, oh, he said, Mom, they're live. They got sprouts. He said, we're going to plant them. I was like, okay, what are you on a planting kick now? He was like, because I have this thing that I bought from Guam that you can plant all the herbs in. It's a little planter, and it has a light and everything. You just plant it and it just stack it with the stuff. So he's like, oh, I want to use that. And I was like, no, that's not what that's for. You need a real garden to plant all of this. He was like, really? And I was like, yes, because it's going to grow a lot. Oh, okay. So he's on this discovery of, like, oh, wow. I'm like, I forgot. He didn't grow up with a garden like me. I grew up when my granny was in the garden, getting tomatoes, taking the tomatoes off, putting them on the windowsills, taking the peppers and putting them up there. She made her own hot sauce, and she was always putting vinegar and cauliflower, carrots, and green beans with salt, and then she put them in a jar, and then she would have them, and then she would put them in the this great big stock pot, and then it would be on the shelf along with the peaches. So you knew what you had to do each season. Well, it's peach time, it's apple time, it's blueberry time. So you know what's going to happen. She had those big boxes of blueberry. We never run out of blueberry jelly. We never, you know, you never run out of tomatoes. So that's what I'm remembering, and I like that you're doing the same thing, and you're passing it on to your baby. He's only 3, so this is like, he's the youngest that I've heard of that is really into canning and just
Well,
enjoying like
yeah,
the food process. Amazing.
I didn't grow up with this. I grew up in New York City. I was born in the Bronx. And when I was elementary school age, my parents moved down to Georgia. And I slowly started to embrace moving further and further out of the city until, Yeah, I found myself in this life, but it's so nice to have memories that I have of that age of being in the inner city and having my things stolen and yeah,
Wow.
yeah, people coming on the schoolyard stealing your lunchbox and stuff like that.
What?
But yeah,
In
I mean,
school?
it was the Bronx. It was kind of rough, but um, but luckily, like
Oh
I
God.
have such a different tale to tell my child. It's like we live such a different life, and even if we go to the local store, he passes goats and horses and gets to see things like that, and that's really what it's about for me.
Oh, that is so amazing though. But I mean, I'm just so impressed that the 3-year-old is like, he's in the kitchen and he's so involved. That is something really to be inspired by a lot, because a lot of kids are waiting until they get older and teach home economics or business or whatever. Unless you're a homeschooler, a lot of them get a lot of things early because the parent is incorporating everything in life with that. And I was, with my kid as well. So his life is different. And then to go to public school was a culture shock. Like, they're really, they really don't know. And I was like, no, they don't. He's like, they really don't do homework and all they do is eat. I was like, yeah. He said, all they do is play. And I was like, yeah. He's like, why? I was like, and then in my son's question, he said, Mom, why do they want us to be dumber and not teach us correctly? And I was like, what did you say? He said,
Yeah.
why do they want us to be dumber? This is out of a kid's mouth. This is years ago, he said. He was like, you teach us more about stuff, but then I thought of our ancestors. They probably did the same thing. They were in a room and they had different grades and they were teaching them different things to evolve. That's how I look at it. Like, I don't know if they did that because I'm not my ancestors and I don't know what they did back there. So I'm just assuming. I'm going to make an assumption that that's why they were so smart.
Yeah.
And why we got better people. But it's been amazing. I would love, like I said, for you to again to come on and
Yeah.
talk about your herbology,
I'd love
and
to.
herbalists, and maybe pick a subject that you're really compassionate about to be an herbalist, because some people have their own thing. Like my friend is about foraging. My other friend is about what was her thing? Is it's about tinctures, and tinctures
Mhm.
for she said gastritis and high blood pressure. Those are her specialties. And I'm like, why? She's like, people in my age, when we get in our 70s, you always got high blood pressure or gas problems. I was like, gas problems? She's like, yeah, gas problems. I was like, okay, you call it whatever you want to call it. All right. So that would be great. So
Yeah.
do you have anything you want to say or promote? Do you have anything?
Um, if anybody wants to find me on TikTok at Kerry's Country Life, Kerry apostrophe S. Like I said, canning, fermenting education, and all kinds of things to help you save money and to make it yourself. So I have nothing to sell but my skills, and I hope to pass those on to everyone else. So
I think that's great. I mean, you got a lot of skills. A lot of people don't have the skills you have.
thank you.
So that, to me, that country. Okay, there we go. It's coming up, country life. Okay, on TikTok. Okay, come on TikTok. I have to type. I'm typing this all out, trying not to like mess up my microphone. That thing that goes in and out. I told him I'm gonna order one soon. Come on. Da-da-da.
That's me.
Okay, so you guys, this is what it's at, and I'm gonna say goodbye for now, you guys. I am also going to play another song from our CD. So if you want, it'd be nice of you to listen and tell me what you think. And we, if you have any questions, I should have did this earlier, but I didn't. If you have any questions, let me know. That would be greatly appreciated. And if you have any, just put them down at the bottom, and I'll be that. If you like the show, what I say is like and subscribe, and I would love for you to ring that little bell so you'll get a notification. I say that to everybody, and I tell you, thank you for watching my show. And we're going to go out. We have, like I said, one little song that we're going to do. Let's see. Well, I guess we could do, yeah, here we go. Where did you go? Come on, come on, come on. I see you, I see you. Almost there. No, that's Coffee with Ori. We're not doing that today. Okay, there we go. Here we go, you guys. So y'all hear this.
On this land we stand, where hearts find healing, reaching out a hand in the quiet of the pasture, where the horses roam free, a place for every story, a safe place to be, for the veterans and mothers, the young and the old, a promise of new beginnings in the space we hold. Step by step, we rise above the struggle and the pain, growing stronger in this haven, where hope flows like rain. From dreams to tangible reality, we build with care, turning hopes into action. Love is everywhere, and dreams to survival to stability every single day, teaching hearts to open, minds to dream again, with every lesson learned. Healing goes within, sustainable living, a future bright and clear. Together we are rising, overcoming fear. Step by step, we rise above the struggle and the pain. Growing stronger in this haven, where hope flows like rain. From dreams to tangible reality, we build with care, turning hopes into action. Love is everywhere, and dreams to reality range. We find our way from survival to stability every single day. In every whisper of the wind, in every hoofbeat song, we find the strength to carry on, where every heart belongs. From dreams to tangible reality, we build with care, turning hopes into actions. Love is everywhere, a dream to reality range. We find our way from survival to stability every single day. Dreams to reality, hear our spirits heat. Together we are stronger, together we will
Okay, guys, that is the other version of Dreams to Reality Ranch. Again, I wrote the song. I have not made a video yet. A CD will be coming out. We have 2 more weeks before it can be produced, so I'm just putting out the songs out here, just like on Coffee with Ori. All songs on there, everything that I do is produced, written by me. Some of them are actually like that one with a man and female. It's actually my voice that is done. And I'm not a man. Like I told you, I tried to do it on the computer to sound as much as masculine as I could, and it just didn't sound right. So I had to use a little AI on that one. So I'm trying not to rely on AI a lot of stuff, but this came out, gave the beat, the music, the different instruments I wanted played, and they actually matched it very beautifully to my words and the melody that came with it. So the melody they helped me create. So this was a AI and self created. So the album will be out. Dreams to Reality Ranch. It's about 4 songs. Coffee with Ori has about 4 songs. And 963B for You. Let me see. I think it was. Yeah. Let me see. Yeah. That one has another one. So I have 4. It's like 4. Well, it's 12 songs. But I really got, when I look at my catalog, the songs I've been writing for the meditation is a total of this 46 songs that I've been sitting here and playing around. When I get a little bit out of there, I write my songs. So I hope you guys like it. Let me know. Write. We love your opinion. Thank you for being interactive. We love that. And if you have any questions or you know someone that fits this program and know what we're doing, this is Dream to Reality Ranch. We would love to actually have them on here. So I look to see you again. So I'm going to go out and see you later, guys. Okay.